Ugh, I'm so hungry, but I don't know what to eat. Oh, up there. What's that? Pop-Tarts? Hello. So, nice weather, right? Sure, but how are you talking? Well, if you really want to know, it all started in Battle Creek, Michigan, and it involves a lot of economic concepts, so keep up. What's economics? Oh boy. Economics is the study of human decision making regarding how to use their limited resources. Basically, it's a study of why people do what they do, whether it comes to people buying things or businesses making the goods. Okay, but what does this have to do with you? When the Pop-Tart was invented in the 1960s, there was big competition between two companies, Kellogg's and Post.
Soft serve ice cream genius Tom Carvel. Children's bicycle maker Steve Schwinn. Inventor of the sea monkey and German immigrant Harold von Braunhut. Canned meatball whiz kid chef Boy R.D. Tightly tailored physical fitness icon Jack LaLanne.
They were competing to create a new product, me, and Kellogg's used the factors of production when coming up with this product. What are the factors of production? The factors of production are land, which are the natural resources used to produce a good or service, labor, which is the physical effort that people put into producing a good or service, and capital. Human capital is the knowledge and skills of a person, and physical capital are man-made tools that are used. Both of these forms of capital are used to produce goods or services. Finally, entrepreneurship is when a person combines the resources and creates a business with that product. Wow, that's really interesting. But what does this have to do with this? Well, we see an example of human capital here when the Kellogg taste pilots are shown at the front. Bob and Stan gathered them because they all had specific skills and knowledge that they needed to come up with these ideas. Each of these individuals had their special skills that were brought together and were crucial to the development of the Pop-Tart. Oh, okay, so specialization. That makes sense. What happened next? Well, I'll tell you about Stan first. She was critical to the development of this product. At the time, she was working at NASA when Bob asked her to join Kellogg's.
They're going to go up, they're going to come down, they're going to become alcoholics and get divorced.
The chimps are smarter. How do you think Post did it?
I know how they did it. They stole our research.
What if they use xanthan gum?
Xanthan.
Bottom line, I don't want to work for Edsel again.
You don't really think you're actually going to the moon, do you? Really? Going to the moon?
No, I don't.
No. Let's go.
This is another example of economics in action. She faced an opportunity cost when deciding to come work at Kellogg's. What's an opportunity cost? Opportunity cost is defined as the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen. Essentially, whenever you have to make a decision, the opportunity cost is the next best thing that you didn't choose. In this case, when Stan was approached by Bob to join Kellogg's, she had to make a decision. Either stay at NASA and work in the lab with the possibility of going to the moon, or go join Kellogg's and help them create a new product. In the end, she decided to join Kellogg's. The opportunity cost was her working at NASA and potentially helping them go to the moon. So, opportunity cost is just the thing that you'd miss out on? Okay. What happened next? Well, once all of the taste pilots were gathered, they went to work in the lab to develop the product.
Inspired by his ravioli, we have crimped the pastry edge sphere to hold the jelly in.
That's something.
I call it the Kellogg's Fruit Monkey.
This is an example of another factor of production, labor. As I mentioned before, labor is the physical effort that people put into developing a good or service. In this case, we have several people with special skills, human capital, who use their skills, like building and cooking, to develop a new product. Okay, got it. I guess the factors of production are important, but what about their competitor, Post? Well, when the production race started, Kellogg's wanted to prevent Post from competing with them, so they went to the main suppliers of sugar in Cuba and bought all of their sugar. Because of this, Post didn't have any sugar to use, and therefore they couldn't produce anything.
All of it.
That's a lot of sugar and a lot of money. And you don't play with El Sucre.
It's going to work.
It already has.
Let me see. No smoke out of the stacks. They're not making anything. Oh, this is good.
This is an example of decrease in supply. Supply is the amount of a good or service that a producer makes. Several things can shift supply, but in this case, it's the availability of resources. Since Kellogg has bought all the sugar, Post doesn't have the resource of sugar anymore, no availability, so they aren't able to produce any goods. Wow, that's a lot of competition. Then what happened? Well, Post managed to get sugar from a different supplier after negotiating. Then something revolutionary happened at Kellogg's. Up till then, they were still prototyping different products. However, after asking themselves the 3 key economic questions, they came up with the Pop-Tart.
It's rectangular shape with holes in it. And Steve Schwinn, sweet little Steve, who invents things that are easy for kids to handle. And maybe they can't handle an oven, but they can handle
A toaster. Which means 2 per foil pack, rectangular shape, crimped edges, fruit filled, and a catchy name.
What are the 3 key economic questions? All producers ask themselves these questions when they are producing something. What do I produce, how do I produce it, and who has access to it, or who is it intended for? Here, it is shown that when Bob and Stan are putting together the pieces for the Pop-Tart, they mention that the Pop-Tart is meant for kids. That means that it should be easily accessible to everyone in grocery stores, and it should be easy for kids to handle. That means the packaging is easy for kids to open, and they can use it with toasters instead of ovens. Okay, that makes sense. It's like a plan for producers. So, after the Pop-Tart was made, how did it sell? That's just what I was getting to. After the Pop-Tart was put into stores, we saw an increase in demand. Demand is the consumer's willingness and ability to buy a certain product. When the store opened and the kids went in, they had to make a decision.
Kids are doing anything to get their hands on these Pop-Tarts. 6 stock boys were bitten. It's a feeding frenzy. It's the name. No kid wants to be a square, and a square from the country.
They all flocked to the Pop-Tarts, and the stores sold out because there was such a high demand. In this case, the demand was shifted due to the tastes and preferences of all the children. The name Pop-Tart was more appealing to them than country squares, so they all bought the Pop-Tart instead. And that's the story. Wow, I never knew there was so much behind the Pop-Tart. Thanks for telling me all this. By the way, how do you know so much about economics? I think I need to take a nap. I'm seeing things.